Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a play. The Washington Commanders are once again in the headlines, but not exactly for the reasons their fans would have hoped when the 2025 NFL season began. It's been a roller coaster few weeks filled with frustration, injuries, and questions about roster construction, and now, the team is taking what many are calling a last-ditch swing at redemption. The Commanders have signed former first-round pick Treylon Burks, a player once hyped as a future star in Tennessee, in hopes that he can bring some life to a struggling wide receiver room and, in a way, save the team from what already looks like a massive offseason mistake. This move is as much about survival as it is about faith. Faith that Burks still has something left to prove and something left to give to a team desperate for answers. Let's rewind for a moment. The season hasn't unfolded anywhere near what Washington's front office, coaching staff, or loyal fanbase envisioned. With Jaden Daniels entering his second year and expectations soaring after flashes of brilliance in his rookie campaign, optimism was sky-high. Daniels was supposed to take that next step, leading a dynamic offense centered around his mobility, quick decision-making, and the reliable presence of veteran playmakers like Terry McLaurin and newly added pieces that were meant to push this unit into the upper half of the league. But football, as it always does, had other plans. Injuries have wrecked this team's early momentum, forcing constant lineup shuffles and robbing them of chemistry. Daniels himself missed time after taking one too many hits, and McLaurin, the heart and soul of the offense, has been sidelined for multiple weeks battling a nagging ankle issue. These weren't minor setbacks. They were gut punches to a team already trying to find its identity under new leadership. And then there's the Noah Brown situation. Washington brought him in during the offseason to be the reliable WR3 behind McLaurin and Curtis Samuel, expecting him to provide depth, veteran experience, and a physical presence in the slot. On paper, it made perfect sense. But on the field, Brown's body betrayed him once again. The injuries piled up early, and before the season even had a chance to fully settle, he was placed on injured reserve. Suddenly, the wide receiver room looked frighteningly thin. The Commanders' decision to rely so heavily on players with injury histories came back to haunt them. And now, with Brown out indefinitely, they've been forced to look elsewhere, to take a gamble on a player who, like Brown, carries the label of if he can stay healthy. Enter Treylon Burks. Treylon Burks, once the 18th overall pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, was supposed to be the heir to A.J. Brown's throne in Tennessee. When the Titans traded away Brown to the Eagles, it was Burks who was expected to step into that WR1 role, bringing his combination of size, strength, and after-the-catch ability to a team that badly needed a spark. But the fairy tale never happened. Injuries, inconsistency, and a carousel of underwhelming quarterback play derailed his progress. In 2 seasons, Burks flashed potential. A few big plays here, a few contested catches there, but never put together the kind of stretch that justified his draft slot. By the time the Titans moved on, he'd become one of those what-if players, talented enough to intrigue teams, but risky enough to scare them away from investing too much. Now, Washington is giving him a lifeline. According to NFL insider Ian Rappaport, the Commanders hosted Burks for a visit earlier this week, and after a solid workout, they decided to sign him to the practice squad with plans to elevate him to the active roster sooner rather than later. It's a move that feels both desperate and intriguing. Desperate because the Commanders' wide receiver room is running on fumes, and intriguing because Burks, when healthy, offers a skill set that could complement Daniels perfectly. Standing at 6'2" and weighing around 225 pounds, Burks has the physical profile of a dominant possession receiver. He's tough to bring down after the catch, has strong hands in traffic, and, when locked in, can create mismatches against smaller defensive backs. The problem has always been consistency and availability. But at this stage, Washington has little to lose. The Commanders' depth chart at receiver right now is a mix of promise and uncertainty. With McLaurin out, Brown on IR, and even Curtis Samuel nursing minor issues, players like Luke McCaffrey and Jalen Lane have been thrust into bigger roles. To their credit, both have stepped up admirably, showing signs of development that have fans cautiously optimistic about the future. McCaffrey, the rookie out of Rice, has shown great route-running instincts and reliable hands, while Lane's speed and energy have given the offense a needed spark. But asking two young, relatively unproven players to carry the load through a brutal midseason schedule is asking for trouble. The Commanders needed someone who could come in, learn quickly, and make an impact. Burks might not be a sure thing, but he's at least a player with the pedigree to make a difference. The hope inside the Commanders building is that a change of scenery can reignite Burks' career. Sometimes that's all it takes: a new locker room, a new coaching staff, a new quarterback, and a system that plays to a player's strengths. The Titans' offense never really fit Burks' style. It was run-heavy, predictable, and lacked the kind of creativity that could free up a player like him. In Washington, the playbook is far more dynamic. Jaden Daniels' ability to extend plays and improvise could open up opportunities for Burks to find soft spots in coverage and use his physicality to his advantage. There's also something to be said about the psychological impact of being given a second chance. For players like Burks, being written off too early can light a fire. Maybe, just maybe, this is the kind of environment where he can finally put it all together. Still, there are reasons for caution. Burks' own injury history reads like a warning label. Hamstring strains, knee issues, concussions, he's battled them all. The Commanders can't afford to have another receiver go down. But they're also in no position to be picky. This is what NFL front offices call a low-risk, high-reward move. If it works out, they've found a capable contributor for pennies on the dollar. If it doesn't, they cut ties and move on. Either way, the upside is undeniable. Imagine a fully healthy Treylon Burks lining up opposite Terry McLaurin with Daniels distributing the ball. Suddenly, this offense looks a lot more dangerous. From a narrative standpoint, this move is about redemption, both for Burks and for the Commanders' front office. The team has been criticized heavily for its roster management, particularly at the wide receiver position. Fans and analysts alike question why Washington didn't invest more heavily in the offseason, either through the draft or free agency, to add reliable depth behind McLaurin. Instead, they bet on veterans with injury histories and improving younger players, and now, that gamble has backfired. Signing Burks feels like a response to that criticism, an attempt to fix what might have been their biggest offseason mistake. It's an admission that things haven't gone according to plan, but also a sign that they're willing to take bold swings to fix it. The pressure, of course, now shifts to Burks himself. He's stepping into a locker room that's hungry for someone to step up, to become a difference maker when the team needs it most. For a player who's faced so much doubt over the past 2 years, this could be his best, and perhaps last, chance to prove he belongs. He's still only 25 years old, still young enough to rewrite the narrative around his career. If he can stay healthy, focus on his conditioning, and build chemistry with Daniels, there's no reason he can't carve out a meaningful role in this offense. The Commanders aren't asking him to be a superstar. They're asking him to be reliable, to be available, and to make plays when his number is called. As the Commanders prepare for a brutal stretch of games that could define their season, all eyes will be on how quickly Burks can integrate into the offense. The reality is that it might take a couple of weeks before he's fully up to speed. Learning a new playbook, adjusting to new terminology, and syncing with a young quarterback isn't something that happens overnight. But Washington doesn't have the luxury of time. With the NFC East as competitive as ever, they need results now. The coaching staff is likely to keep his roles simple early on: quick slants, screens, intermediate routes that let him use his size and power after the catch. If he can execute those and build trust, the rest will follow. Ultimately, this signing isn't just about filling a roster spot, it's about belief. The Commanders are betting on potential, on upside, on the idea that talent sometimes just needs the right environment to flourish. They're also betting that their young quarterback, Jaden Daniels, can elevate those around him. Because if Burks can find his footing and Daniels continues to grow, this offense could still become something special down the stretch. It's a story of second chances, for a player trying to save his career and for a team trying to save its season. Whether it works or not remains to be seen, but one thing's for sure: the Commanders aren't done fighting. They're still swinging, still searching, and still hoping that somewhere in the chaos, a spark will finally catch fire. If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. Bombshell in Washington. Drake Jackson is reportedly heading to the Commanders, and the rumor mill is already spinning faster than ever. The defensive front of Washington may be on the verge of a seismic shift, as insiders hint that the team is bringing in the young, explosive edge rusher to dramatically alter the dynamics of their pass rush. If the whispers are to be believed, this isn't just another roster move. It could be the start of a defensive renaissance that fans have been clamoring for years. The Commanders, a team that has struggled to consistently pressure opposing quarterbacks, may finally be on the brink of assembling a front that can dominate the trenches week in and week out. The chatter started quietly, but has grown into a roaring inferno on social media, with every analyst and fan dissecting what this could mean for the franchise. The mere mention of Drake Jackson's name conjures images of speed, relentless pursuit, and a motor that never seems to quit. Rumors suggest that he's not just a rotational piece. Whispers indicate that he could be inserted immediately as a starter, possibly reshaping the entire defensive scheme of the team. Analysts are already speculating that defensive coordinator could have been quietly planning for months, mapping out blitz packages and edge alignments that take full advantage of Jackson's rare combination of athleticism and football IQ. Some insiders are even hinting that the Commanders see this as a statement move, a way to announce to the rest of the league that they're not just playing catch-up, they're aiming to dominate. Fans, of course, have erupted online, with debates, memes, and highlight compilations flooding Twitter and Instagram. It's the kind of buzz that you can feel in the stadium even before a single game is played. And if the speculation holds true, Washington might be about to become a nightmare for opposing quarterbacks. But as with any major rumor, the details are murky and the sources cautious. There are hints that negotiations have been underway quietly for weeks, and insiders suggest that the deal could involve a clever mix of draft capital, future considerations, or strategic roster adjustments to make space for such a high-impact talent. Some whispers even suggest that this could trigger a chain reaction, forcing other teams to reconsider their own defensive strategies as they anticipate a significantly improved Washington pass rush. Imagine a defensive front where Drake Jackson is not only paired with already established stars, but also benefits from a rotation designed to maximize pressure on the quarterback. Rumor has it that the coaching staff sees this as an opportunity to unleash creative schemes, stunt combinations, and unpredictable blitzes that could completely change how opponents approach the Commanders' defense. The timing of these rumors is also fascinating. Some insiders hint that the front office may have waited for the perfect window to finalize this move, potentially using the element of surprise to catch rival teams off guard. Fans can only speculate how this might affect the team's draft strategy, salary cap decisions, and even the locker room dynamics. Will Drake Jackson step in seamlessly, or will there be an adjustment period as he acclimates to the team's culture and playbook? Early signs suggest he's a natural fit for the aggressive style Washington wants to project, and if the reports are accurate, he could instantly become one of the most talked-about players in the league. Some analysts have started crunching hypothetical numbers, projecting sack totals, pressures, and quarterback hits, and the consensus is that Jackson could push Washington's defensive front into the upper echelon of NFL defenses almost overnight. The ripple effects of such a signing could be enormous, influencing everything from game day planning to off-season priorities. There's even talk that this could spark a defensive arms race in the division, forcing rivals to reconsider their offensive lines, protection schemes, and even quarterback tendencies in anticipation of facing a reinvigorated Commanders pass rush. Social media speculation ranges from optimistic projections of instant impact to cautious notes about adjustment periods and scheme fits, but the sheer excitement is undeniable. Every highlight clip of Jackson's college and early professional career has been dissected, tweeted, and discussed, with fans debating how his unique skill set can complement the existing roster. Rumor even has it that internal team meetings have revolved around maximizing Jackson's versatility, exploring ways to deploy him in multiple roles, stand-up edge, hand-in-the-dirt linebacker, or even occasional stunt rotations that could completely disrupt offensive game plans. The possibility that Washington may finally possess a defensive cornerstone to build around is electrifying the fan base, and casual observers are now tuning in to every report, every cryptic social media post, and every interview with keen anticipation. But it's not just the fans who are buzzing. League insiders are reportedly monitoring the situation closely, trying to gauge how this rumored acquisition might shift the balance of power not just in the NFC East, but across the league. Could this be the move that finally propels Washington into Super Bowl contention? While it's too early to tell, the mere speculation is enough to send shockwaves through fantasy football projections, mock drafts, and preseason previews. And while the official announcement remains pending, the rumor itself has already begun to shape narratives, with media outlets and commentators framing the potential arrival of Drake Jackson as a defining moment for the franchise. Imagine a defensive front that can dictate the pace of the game, force turnovers, and put constant pressure on opposing quarterbacks. This is exactly the kind of energy the Commanders may be aiming to inject into their team. Behind the scenes, sources hint at careful planning and strategic timing, suggesting that the front office wanted to ensure that every angle was considered before making a public statement. This could include everything from medical evaluations to contract structuring and integration into the team's culture and philosophy. Rumors are also swirling that other teams may have been interested in Jackson, but Washington's offer, vision, and promise of immediate impact could have tipped the scales. Fans are already imagining the highlight reels, sacks, tackles for loss, forced fumbles, and game-changing plays that could flip the momentum of critical matchups. Social media discussions range from tactical breakdowns to playful memes, but underneath the excitement lies a genuine recognition that a player of Jackson's caliber could represent a turning point for Washington's defensive identity. As the chatter continues, insiders suggest that the finalization of this move could spark additional roster maneuvers, as the team looks to optimize depth, rotations, and salary cap flexibility around this potential cornerstone addition. There's even speculation that veteran players in the locker room may embrace Jackson as a leader on the field, mentoring younger teammates while simultaneously elevating the overall competitive standard. The anticipation is so thick that every training session, practice report, and preseason scrimmage is now being scrutinized for hints of Jackson's impact, as if a single glimpse could confirm or deny the swirling rumors. If true, this move could represent a bold declaration from Washington, a statement that they are serious about contention and willing to make high-impact acquisitions to achieve their goals. Rumors like these have a way of capturing the imagination, and fans are already projecting potential outcomes, imagining how Jackson's presence could turn close games into dominant victories and elevate the team's status in one of the NFL's most competitive divisions. Even the coaching staff's philosophy could subtly shift, leaning more aggressively into schemes that exploit Jackson's unique skill set, testing the limits of what the defense can accomplish. And while we wait for official confirmation, the rumor alone has created a fever pitch among supporters, analysts, and opponents alike, all trying to anticipate the magnitude of impact that Drake Jackson could bring to Washington. Will he be the missing piece that transforms the Commanders into a defensive juggernaut? Or is this just the beginning of a larger puzzle that the front office is quietly assembling? The speculation is endless, the excitement palpable, and the potential ramifications enormous. What is clear, however, is that the mere possibility of Jackson joining the Commanders has already created one of the most talked-about storylines in the league. And if these rumors prove true, Washington fans may soon witness the dawn of a new defensive era, one defined by speed, aggression, and the relentless pursuit of quarterbacks that could leave opponents scrambling to adjust. Every fan, analyst, and commentator now finds themselves caught in the web of anticipation, imagining the plays, the highlight moments, and the headlines that could dominate sports media for weeks on end. And while nothing is official yet, the speculation continues to fuel conversations, energize fan bases, and put Washington squarely back on the map as a team capable of making waves, not just in the division, but across the entire NFL. Drake Jackson to the Commanders, a rumor that has already become a phenomenon, one that could redefine the narrative of an entire franchise, shift the balance of power in the league, and ignite the kind of excitement that football fans live for. Stay tuned, because if even half of what's being whispered turns out to be true, Washington may have just pulled off one of the most thrilling and game-changing moves of the season, and the league is about to feel the tremors of a defensive front that could be downright unstoppable. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the Commanders news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the Commanders.